Welcome to Good Morning Akron, everyone. I'm your host, Sarah, and today I get to speak with Tim Carroll. Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm good, Sarah. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good, and I just think you're an interesting person in Akron. And you do all kinds of fun things. We are going to talk about your books. We're going to talk about running. We might touch on a little bit of gardening, and I love that you have all these passions that you want to share with other Akronites and beyond, right?
Yeah, I have a history degree, so I thought I'd put it to use, and I started writing books a few years ago. My first one was World War II Akron, and then the second book, which I'm really excited about, is World War II cartoons of Akron's Webb Brown. He was the Beacon Journal cartoonist from the World War II time period. So as I told you before, I took all of his cartoons, I looked through them from 1929 to 1945, and I picked out his best ones and put over 200 of them in chronological order to tell the history of World War II. So it's a really unique way to see his artwork and learn about the war. So it's a one-of-a-kind book, and as I said, I've discovered a cartoonist in my research who was the only female cartoonist during the World War II time period.
And what is her name?
Her name is Anne Mergen.
Okay.
So she started in 1933 after going to art school, submitting art to the newspaper, and they didn't have a cartoonist, so she started drawing cartoons for them, and eventually they hired her as a full-time cartoonist, and she became a very prominent cartoonist. When FDR died in 1945, she made 2 cartoons after his death that Eleanor Roosevelt requested for her library as a memorial.
Wow.
And she helped them win a Pulitzer in 1938. So a pretty prolific career for her.
Very
so I'm excited to put that book out, hopefully be out in the next year or so.
Yeah, and I love that you take this passion that you have, you know, your first book about World War II in Akron here, and then you're kind of taking it and making it maybe just a little more accessible for people. There's this beautiful cartooning from these different people so that they can also looking at pictures and then reading about what was going on at the time. So I think it's a really unique book. It's a really unique story. And like you said, these are people that we haven't got to see their work in
about 80 to 90 years since being able to see the cartoons. So pretty much anybody that's alive right now has not been able to see their work. It was, you know, since it's been published in the paper in the 40s or 30s and whatnot. So it gives people opportunity to see it once again. And they were very popular. Sometimes 2 million people saw their cartoons on Sunday's newspapers.
Wow,
so
I know.
To see them again for the first time in decades is
obviously fun. Cartooning in that time period. You know, we don't have TV. People are looking forward to the storyline. You know, they're following it.
Had radio but no TV.
Exactly. So can you tell people where they could find that book or your other book if they're interested in reading?
Oh, they can find it. It's at the local, like Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, San Juan Pharmacy carries it. But Amazon's an easy way to get it. If you want a signed copy, you always could email me, tcarroll at 1918@gmail.com. I can send you one. But they're accessible. My publisher is the History Press, so they're on their website. But you can find them on the internet or local bookstores.
I love that. That's great. All right, let's actually shift over to running. I love you have like a new, well, it's not new, but a revived passion for running. That's right. You used to be a runner back in high school, correct?
Well, I started running my senior year of high school to keep in shape for basketball, and I kept running through my 20s and 30s. But recently, in last Christmas 2022, I ran that cold morning, and I've run every day since. So it's been over a year. I've run 2 or 3 miles or more a day, and I've just been consistent. Sometimes it's just 2 miles a day, sometimes it's 3 miles. But I got in pretty good shape, and I started doing races for the first time in probably 5 years this past March, and I got second in the first one I did, which I was excited about.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. So I kept doing some, like I did that Summit Lake Kenmore Boulevard one in May and did well there. I started doing the Akron Marathon Race Series, which you can sign up for starting today for the race series.
I know, and I love that you wore the hoodie.
So.
You brought the medal, which is really fun. And yeah, actually, it is today that you can sign up. So starting today, people can sign up for the Akron Marathon.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun, and it's something to look forward to. They have a mile race on a Friday in June, and then the next day you can do a 5-mile race. It's kind of tough to do back-to-back, but it was really fun and challenging, so I enjoyed doing that.
Something different, especially for runners, it's usually the same thing, right? And so it's nice to have something different.
It's nice that the marathon puts that on, and there's another race in August, and then of course the finale is in the end of September, where people can run the marathon, the half, or of course the relay. And I was on a relay team, and we were fortunate enough, had a good group of guys and got third, and it was a lot of fun.
That's
amazing. It's very challenging. I did a 6.7 mile leg, and running 6.7 miles isn't easy.
And I've heard that course is actually pretty challenging too.
Yeah, it's rolling hills, so you got to be ready for it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then another thing I mentioned to you, there's an Akron neighborhood race series now, so that's kind of fun, where they kind of package a lot of the local races for you to check out, and they give you a medal for that too. So I think
love that.
Through Family Promise, maybe.
I do think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did the North Hill one, which Larry O'Neill puts on, which is a fun one. I did a lot of of different other ones too. The Porch Rocker 5K, which I live in Highland Square, so I run that course almost every day. So that was a
lot
fun
of
one
fun
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that you're kind of showing our viewers right now, like, there's so much running to be done here in Akron.
Yeah, and if you just do it consistently, I think you can get in great shape. You can do local races, and I just walk out of my house and run each day. You don't necessarily need to go to a trail. If that's your thing, that's great. But I would encourage people just to get out the door and do something each day, yeah.
I love that. So maybe someone who's watching this has been thinking about running, and they'll be encouraged
Yeah,
by your
hopefully.
words
You know, a lot
there.
of people are trying for the new year. So.
Hey, even if, I love what you said, you've been consistently doing it every day, whether it's a couple miles or, you know, a lot more if you're training for something. And I think really isn't that the key, right? Just consistently doing something, that's what makes a good habit.
Amazed. I was surprised when I showed up for that race last year. 'Cause I got second then, and now I'm in tremendous shape just from March till now. So it's really motivational. And so when I run 2 miles, I can do it in about 13 minutes. So you might not be able to get 2 miles in 13 minutes, but if you ran 13 minutes a day, you could get in better shape than you think.
That's true.
So,
and you are super fast. And if you are winning these races, you're much faster than the average person.
True.
But at the same time, it's encouraging because, like you were saying, you know, before Christmas of a year ago, you had not been running in a long time, and it didn't take you that long to get in shape. And maybe our average person isn't going to be winning the races, but they could get better and better and better.
Quite a bit.
Yeah,
I've even dropped quite a bit of weight there. I got my best physical ever. I get one each year, and they're like, your blood work's...
What are you doing?
Yeah, they're like, I couldn't believe it. So,
I love that. All right, so your third passion we're going to talk about is gardening.
Yes.
And you love to garden. You actually do a lot of gardening at your own home. So share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I always planted flowers at my house, and then one year I decided, since I'm really passionate about gardening, maybe I should plant more in the front yard so the neighborhood could enjoy it. So that's what I started doing, and I was inspired by my great uncle who, when I was growing up, my dad always told me how he decorated so much for Christmas. Kids in the neighborhood thought Santa Claus lived at his house.
Oh my gosh,
so I thought,
that's so fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I was always excited about that when I was a kid. So I thought, what could I do like that, but with flowers? So I started planting a lot of flowers each year, and a lot of zinnias and all kinds of cool stuff. And people in the neighborhood started walking by and were really nice and encouraging. They really loved it. And so I just planted a lot of perennials, a ton of annuals, the zinnias and whatnot. I got 2,000 tulips planted for the spring, so I'm excited for that. I think it's going to look amazing.
That is
it took a lot of work. It took a month off and on of planting, but I'm glad I stuck with it because I think it will pay off March, April range. So I just love doing it. The neighborhood really likes it, and it's a fun way for me to show off what I do at work because I'm passionate about my job at Graf's. So,
right. Yep. And what do you do at Graf's?
I'm in charge of the annual flower department, so I sell all the annuals, stock all the annuals, and the vegetables, the herbs, the mums in the fall, you name it. And I do a lot there, but that's my main focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows that you really are passionate about it, that you're taking your work home and you're doing it at your own home.
Yeah, people walk by, and when I mention I work at Graf's, like, all right, it makes sense now because I've been walking by here and I wonder what goes on.
Right,
so,
right. It looks so beautiful. So that's great. And so we'll put all that information below so people can find Graf's as well.
I appreciate that.
You can find your books. We'll even put some information about some of the races as well.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, a lot of good local races out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Tim. Go ahead and share with everyone, again, how they can find you and contact you and be able to order your book.
Oh, sure. If they want a signed copy of my book, they can email me, tcarroll1918 at gmail.com. Carroll's with 2 R's, 2 L's. I can also do speaking engagements all the time, so if they want me to come speak to their group, I spoke to Talmadge Historical Society last month. That was
perfect.
fun. So they can do that. And you can find my books at any bookstore. You can find them online, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, you name it. And graphgrowers.com if you are looking to find out what's going on at Graf's this winter.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We had a great time here on Good Morning Akron. Make sure you stay tuned because we've got more great shows coming up next.